Hello, hello, this is Lucy with a Strategic Change Guide podcast. Today we have very special guest. Today we have very special subject, and we are talking about adjusting. How difficult is it to adjust? How difficult is it to change everything completely? You can do this because our guest did it, and many our listeners already did it. So let me introduce today our guest is Iva Tarle. Hello, Iva.
Hi, Lucy. It's so good to be here today.
It's pleasure having you here. So please share your story. It's very exciting. I already heard part of it, and I'm pretty sure our listeners are excited to find out more about it.
All right, thanks so much for this opportunity. And hi to all the listeners. So briefly, I'm a former diplomat from Croatia that has been living in Bali for 6 years. I decided to just break free from the from the public service and from the career, the external kind of success of the diplomatic field, and to follow my own path, to follow my own inner guidance, and to move to Bali, to start my own business, and finally to discover my hidden talents, my hidden gifts as a coach, as an empath, a healer, and so on. So my transformation happened in 2011. I'm sure a lot of the people who are listening have also felt energetically that 2011 was quite a strong year. In the astrological sense, there were a lot of big shifts happening, a lot of the breakthroughs, and I felt it in the way that I was really, even though it was the peak of my career, I was 33, I was a esteemed diplomat working in Jakarta. So I was sent by my home country, Croatia, to Jakarta, and I had a really nice expat package. I had my own driver. I was spending my week sipping champagne at parties with other diplomats from other countries, dressing nicely, thinking about... my biggest worry was whether the elevator for the VIP elevator will work tomorrow in my office building or not.
Sounds very exciting.
Yes,
I'm pretty sure listeners are hearing this story thinking, wow, what she did, is it not the dream? So what happened next?
Yes, and my second worry was, what will I eat for lunch? Like, where will I order my lunch that day? Yes, so well, even though from the outside it all seemed so sparkly and wonderful and exciting, inside I really felt like my world was falling apart. I felt I wasn't heard. I felt a lot of my inner talents and a lot of my abilities were dormant. I felt like I was kind of dying inside. So it was a big, it was like I was living some kind of a lie, almost. Also, the people that I was surrounded with, I felt they don't share my values. I felt that a lot of the people in the corps diplomatique were quite thinking only about themselves, their own promotion, and not really caring about the needs of the people, and kind of being there to serve, and to serve the nationals, right? This is why we're there. This is what we were paid for. And just altogether, it was just a very hard moment of truth for me, because there was something emerging, something strong was emerging inside of me. This desire to live, this new life was kind of piercing through, and there were a lot of these birthing pains while it was happening. And actually, the only thing that I could do, I was trying to coach myself at the time, as I really felt pressure. I was crying almost every day. I was serving the clients. I was doing my best, but at the same time, I really felt this very strong need to break free, to just not to do this job anymore. It just wasn't. It wasn't. what I was about. So I could only help myself by kind of coaching myself, by tapping myself on the shoulder and thinking about what would make me happy. So that was kind of my light at the end of the tunnel. And I was just talking to myself like, okay, so what would make you happy? What do you want to do? You know, how can we break through this all this pain, all this darkness, all this heaviness? And I saw this kind of idea that I want to work with environment and art. I had this idea that I could that there's this combination of art and environment. And even though at the time, people that I talked to, I was going to networking events, I was talking to people that could help me, that had their companies in Bali, you know, and so I was trying to feel a little bit of the opportunities. And they're all listening to me and kind of rolling their eyes, and they were like, oh, whatever, like, yeah, art and environment, you're crazy. There's no such thing as art and environment, you know, you will never find that field. So as life happens, I think life is quite aligned at many times with our inner world. And I got my contract got broken, or my contract wasn't extended by my boss, because my boss also felt that I wasn't obviously fitting in, and he didn't want to extend my contract for another couple of years. And it just came to me one day. He didn't even announce it. He just gave me the document which said, okay, that's it, you're going back home. So at the same time, I felt like really kind of surprised and shocked, but at the same time, I was so grateful for the universe for giving me this opportunity to actually break free, you know, from something that I really didn't want. And as the vision was guiding me, I moved to Bali, and after a month or so, I was going on some business networking event in Denpasar in Bali. And there was a lady who, we were all sitting at the big table, like talking out loud, like what we're looking for. Some people are looking for jobs. Some people are looking for help in certain fields. There was a lady who said, "Oh yeah, I need somebody to work with me on this campaign of protecting the environment. I want to protect the oceans, and I work with art." So I ended up working with her. I developed a public campaign for protecting the oceans. I called it Art for Oceans, and we were raising awareness of the need to protect the oceans, not to throw garbage, not to pollute the oceans and rivers, by creating underwater sculptures at certain locations that would protect the growth of the corals. We were also collaborating a lot of like the local the international organizations that had local branches that were doing work with corals, that were restoring the corals. We were also working with local artists. We were commissioning the local artists. We worked with Body Shop and some of these like more companies which are more aware about the environment. And so it was pretty amazing. It was amazing how that vision was really produced for me. So yes, you know, so it's all about this manifestation. It's all about understanding what we want, what we need, and then the universe kind of provides.
That's impressive. Very impressive story. So basically, you've seen the industry that your friends and colleagues thought that does not exist, art and environment. And obviously, you created the possibility, created the opportunity to make it work for yourself.
Yes, it was quite interesting. It was a journey, of course. Like every point that we come to, those are like new points, new steps for another journey that we take on afterwards, right? So it all leads us to something new. After that project, it was a one-off. We got a lot of funding from international organizations that support environment and our artists' work in the field. and it was quite a successful campaign. It was all over the media and everywhere. And after that, I decided that I would love to start my own company. So I started a company for organizing retreats on Bali. So basically helping coaches and therapists bring their groups to Bali. So I helping with the budget, logistics, finding the right accommodation, etc. And during that work, I met a few coaches, and I was really inspired by the coaches. And that's when I kind of realized this is how my journey started towards coaching, because I saw how big of an impact can coaching have on people, and how much it can transform their lives and allow people to be free to live their full potential.
That's amazing. That's very amazing story. The most people I met negatively will react to any situation as getting fired or end of career or just being unsatisfied. Yes, there are many people who reach in the top of their career line and just feeling that that's not it. That's not what I wanted, but not enough courage inside to change something. And for you, it seems like a situation that for many people will be like an end. It was a push button. You got fired, but you got inner voice that guided you to develop something more of it.
Yeah,
That's impressive.
That's true.
So,
Thanks.
for example, if today I will decide to use your service and go to Bali for the retreat, what would it be?
Well, I work with the established coaches and therapists, trainers who are interested to bring their clients to Bali, to offer them a new experience, to offer them a high-paying ticket, to upgrade, to offer like a more complete service where they can work with them for a week or 2 weeks, and where they can combine their coaching and therapy sessions together with local cultural activities, together with a lot of massage, spa, together with yoga or whatever other interesting other activity. There are so many things to do in Bali. It's a very developed touristically, and the wellness segment, this wellness tourism is really, really top. It was in 2015. It had the title of the top wellness destination in the world, and it's growing pretty much.
That's amazing. So, what is the most challenging part in changing everything?
The most challenging part in changing everything, I think it's when we change our life, we have to forget parts of ourselves at times. So it's a journey that we start, and while exploring, while learning new, while discovering new, while pushing new boundaries, while achieving new goals, there are parts of us that we forget. So I think then we understand that the cycle is complete once we manage to reintegrate again the whole parts of our personality. I mean, practice, just kind of like stretching yourself. If you can imagine, like stretching yourself, like energetically, or and then once you reach your goal, then kind of remembering the other parts to make it a beautiful whole again.
That's wonderful. So, do you feel right now, after all the changes and all the journey, you found the purpose of what you're supposed to be doing?
Oh, yes. Yes, definitely. After 6 years of living in Bali, I am very, very, very clear on what my purpose is, and it feels wonderful. It feels wonderful to have this clarity and to understand and to kind of look at life from this kind of integrated point of view, to understand like why things were happening in my life, and what was it serving. So everything has a purpose. Nothing is coincidental. All the things that happen to us, I think, are helping us to grow where we're supposed to be.
That's very interesting. So, what will be the secret recipe? Living 6 years on Bali or getting professional coaching?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
What will be the secret recipe to change everything for the one who decides, yes, I'm ready? Will that be living 6 years on Bali or getting professional coaching service?
Well, one thing I've learned, because I've done a lot of this exploration by myself, that I would really recommend people getting coaching services for sure, because this is what gets us to our goals much faster and easier, because there are people who have done it before, so they know the steps and they can take our hand and guide us on the way, along the way. Yeah. But I mean, living in Bali is also very interesting. There are a lot of people who are doing it now. There's like this huge movement of like young entrepreneurs and
Exactly.
People who are going there. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, it's quite popular now. So it doesn't matter where the person is in the world, where he or she is living. Getting professional coaching will help to find that push button to change everything.
Yes, to change everything. Also, there are things which help me on my journey, and these are morning rituals. So mastering your own energy, mastering your emotions, mastering your mind. I think that's a really important part of changing your life. And morning rituals are something that very successful people do nowadays, because they recognize how much it's helping them in their everyday life to have the right mindset, to set the goals, to have a vision, to connect with the inner self in meditation every day, to affirm, to create affirmations which kind of help us, with which we can tap on our back, on ourselves on the back, and kind of give ourselves courage to continue on the journey even when it's really hard. And grounding, physical activities to move the energy through our bodies. I think this is very important as well.
That's interesting. So, have you been in a situation after you made this drastic change? Have you been in a situation when you felt, oh, what did I do? What am I doing here? What's going on?
Of course I have.
So how you went through it?
Well, I think one of the most difficult situations was living in Bali. Bali is a third world country. It's very beautiful. It's very dreamy. It's very green. Tropical. But a lot of amazing parts. A lot of things to enjoy. But also, it's like really living and working together with the people who are from different cultural background. Mm-hmm. So, for example, the Balinese, they live in the now. They don't have the same. Maybe it's because of the climate, which is very hot, so they don't have the same. Yeah, they don't really have the same idea of like the Westerners planning for the future, planning, strategizing. Always the mind is always somewhere else, kind of. Like, what do I have to do today? How can I plan? How can I make more money? How can I buy a house? There's always so many things that we are kind of ahead of ourselves, right? To create a better life. And they just live in the now. They're really not concerned about that. And yeah, they're very dedicated to spiritual life. They spend a lot of time praying and singing and dancing in the temples, and they're very kind, very soft people. Very so sometimes it's a little bit hard to work with them, because it's just like, for example, they when they're on holidays, when they're spiritual. Big spiritual events happening, they just stop. They stop the streets. They stop working. They close their workshops. They close their businesses, and they just don't care. So we're just not used to that in the West. You know, we always know things need to be done, it needs to be completed, people need to pay things. You know, it's like we live in this other dimension, and for them it's like, yep, I'm not gonna have clients today, that's fine.
Okay.
So that's
So
a little bit challenging.
what will be your advice to our listeners in how to adjust to new environment?
I think my biggest Bali was my biggest teacher in the sense of understanding the energies and understanding that we need to respect the energies around us, and that there are times to do things and there are times when we can't do things. So in the sense that really to understand that in life, if we respect these energies outside, that we can achieve much more and have much less frustration. And also if we then again listen to our inner energies and our inner callings, that also we will be much more productive and we will achieve much more with much less friction. I hope this was clear.
That's very interesting and deep thinking. I'm pretty sure our listeners are touched. So tell me how can you, based on your experience, how can you help our listeners today or tomorrow? What service you provide?
Yeah, thank you for asking. So I'm just about to launch a very exciting support program, which is a one-on-one 90-day, where I support people who believe that I have spiritual talents, spiritual entrepreneurs, so healers, future coaches, I call them coach links, psychics, empaths, etc., who believe they have gifts and that are not 100% connected with their purpose and are afraid to show their talents to the world, and afraid if they can really help others. So I created this program especially for that, so that they can get more clarity on their purpose and that they can get more self-confidence on themselves and their own gifts to serve others. So this is starting in January. I have it all on my website. And also before that, I prepared a little taster, a 5-day challenge that is taking place on the 25th of December. And it's going to last for 5 days on my Facebook group. So people can taste a little bit of what's going to be happening in that program.
That's very interesting. To our listeners, please follow the description for this episode, and you will find all the links and contact details to reach out to Iva and join the challenge and use the support service for 90 days. So the next year will be real change with help of real experts. Anything else you're willing to share with our listeners, Iva?
Well, I just wanted to mention that it's really important to honor ourselves and our gifts that we have. There are a lot of people who are very gifted out there, who are very intuitive, who can sense others. A lot of empaths out there, and I just want to encourage everyone to love themselves and to nurture those gifts that you have, because it's very important and it can help others along on their journeys. So yeah,
that's very exciting. Thank you very much for sharing your story and your thoughts and advice about how to adjust and what to do when you feel that you need to change 180 degrees opposite direction, and how to adjust to new environment and to new life. Thank you for being here with us, and to our listeners, please follow links to reach out directly to Iva and join the challenge. Once again, we've been talking to Iva Tarle today from Croatia, the one who changed her life from diplomat to living 6 years in Bali and to launching own coaching program. Thank you for being with us. This is Strategic Change Guide podcast, and we see you.